expectations. They aren't pushing them to like go to college and things. I think those are the really important points. And I think to distinguish, because for all intents and purposes, like the kids who go here are not like you all are not no different than kids who go to like Kramer, but I think that we push you in a different way than they do. So. Let's actually, I want to make sure, I like the fact that there are a lot of questions that people are thinking really critically about this issue. I want to make sure that we can focus on this. So let's, again, bring our attention back up here, make sure that our questions are focused around the issue of schools, and let's bring up the next point. And this is something we're going to be looking at more later this week as well. After schools were desegregated, we actually saw the number of white students who weren't in elected Anacostia schools dropped significantly. And because, so if you raise your hand, tell me what we should do when we see the red words right there. Why do you think this happened? You can raise your hand and tell me what we should do in that situation. Brandy?
We should answer the question.
We should answer the question. We should not write, so we don't need to write down why do you think this happened, but we do need to write down one point of our own about why we thought this thing has happened. So take a moment to do this, and then I'll call on people to discuss that. Let's give everyone a second to write it down first. Okay, let's give everyone a second to finish writing this down, then I'll take the question, or the people's answers. All right. Let's take one from Kayla first.
I said that they left the schools because like probably many black people started coming to school, and they probably didn't want to be in the same school as the black people, like the black kids.
Good. Very good point. Malik?
I agree with Kayla because I say this happened because white adults like it was not right to desegregate the school because they just wanted to be with all whites.
Mm-hmm. And one thing we're going to be seeing is that there were actually protests before they desegregated Anacostia because some families, and it's important to know that some, not all, but some families and students didn't want that to happen. Good.
I think this happened because I think like some whites wasn't comfortable with blacks after like this stuff. I mean, desegregation don't happen after the year.
Good. Another one?
I think like whites feel like blacks and like the white teachers didn't want to teach the black kids, so the black couldn't like attend to school.
I think because like they got scared because they knew more blacks was gonna start going to their school. There's gonna be like more confusion. So like to prevent all that, they decided just to move.
What do you mean confusion?
Like they gonna think like since they gonna think like the blacks are more smarter than them, and so like they probably like just prevent all that. They say they're more smarter than just gonna move.
Sir?
I feel like back in the day we always said
Desegregation. Or segregation. No, segregation.
Segregation. Back in the day, and we like saying like manhood, like we just fussing, and she just got small. Like she just got small now because that's what I got small now. That's what she got small again. What about when I 40? What we do with me?
Can you restate your question, please?
She got small with me like for no reason. That's when I got small back with her. She got small back with me. That was about I was gonna fight her. What would they would do?
In one of the schools back then?
Not in the school, like just back in the day, like just it was.
Well, if this was, I mean, if you go back further, far enough, I mean, generally, people who were in control, we definitely saw like sort of racist attitudes in like law enforcement. So they would probably, if they were white officers, they would probably back then we were taking the word of whoever the white person was over yours. So what you're asking a very specific question, and I can't say in those types of, in such a specific hypothetical situation whether that would have happened or would not have. There is evidence that has happened in the past, certainly, and sadly sometimes even today as well. But I can't really answer a hypothetical question that specific. Yes.
Well, I think it's because well, to me, on my perspective, when I used to watch the movies in third or second grade about the Martin Luther King stuff, well, I remember something off the video. They was like whites was dropping out of school because I think they was afraid of that they actually getting better education in them.
Okay. I'm not sure what video you're referring to, but that's certainly possible. What I would say, one of the things I do want to sort of wrap up with here is that I like the fact that I see a lot of people, especially in your comments, around the 2 questions or the 2 points in red. I think people did a very good job thinking critically and thinking critically about these questions. People's answers were well thought out, well stated. I also appreciate when people disagreed with someone else, that they did so in a really respectful way and specifically talk about what they disagreed with. Let's move right now into our practice activity. Our practice activity is going to take a look at, take a much more detailed look at the history of schools in Anacostia, really starting from 1844. So I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to silently turn over their worksheets so we can begin looking at this. And I see, waiting for, all right, I see everyone on the same page, good. Can I get a volunteer to read the first text that starts with the Dougherty School? Let's see here. Go ahead. Great, we need to show that.
The Dougherty School was established in the same building that is now Dougherty Marshall Academy at the corner of Highland Road and Martin Luther King area. The building built in 1901 for James leader of the anti-slavery movement and freed slaves and president candidate in 1844. Another Dougherty School is on King Avenue in Sumner Road, where the current Excel Academy is now.
Good. All right. So our first direction here was to read the text. I want to go back to underline important facts. So we read through this first. Well, take a question a second. We read through this first. Let's go back and underline for important facts. Okay, especially as we're starting this off, I think it's a good way. So what's an important fact? And again, when we underline things, we don't want to underline the entire paragraph. We want to underline the most important parts, the parts we want to go back to remember. So what's one important one?
Dougherty School was established in the same building.
Speak up, sorry.
Dougherty School was established in the same building that is now.
Good. Okay, so Dougherty School established the same building that's now Thurgood Marshall Academy. Will be another important fact. Yep.
The building was built in 1904 as a plan for James G. Burney, a leader of anti-slavery movement.
All right. So right now, you're telling me to basically underline all of this right here, which basically prevents us from being able to figure. So what's like all of that's being underlined? What's the most important part? Yep, speak up a little bit. Okay, so you can say that he was a leader, and then, so James Dougherty was a leader of? Okay, and then everything after that, is that as important as knowing that he was just a leader of the anti-slavery movement? Is it just as important, or if we're trying to make, let's make it for one second, I want to make sure that everyone is being respectful.